People who grew up in the 1970s carry a kind of psychology that's difficult to explain to anyone born after the 2000s. It was a generation shaped by silence, freedom, risk, and a version of childhood that today would alarm most parents. And yet, those years formed a mindset that still shows up in how they think, argue, trust, love, and survive. They grew up in a world with almost no supervision. If you disappeared for hours, no one panicked. There were no phones, no GPS, just a bicycle, a few friends, and a loose promise to be home before dark. And even that rule wasn't rigid. Psychologically, this created something rare today, a natural confidence in navigating life without constant direction. People from the 70s still carry this quiet inner voice that says, "I'll figure it out," even when they have no idea what they're doing. But to truly understand the psychology of the 1970s generation, you have to look at what came before them. Many were raised by parents who lived through World War II or were born immediately after it. Imagine growing up with parents who knew real fear, real hunger, real sacrifice. They didn't talk much about feelings. They didn't complain. They didn't fall apart. They survived. And without realizing it, they passed that survival mindset down. This is why people from the 70s grew up faster. Responsibility wasn't taught in lessons. It was absorbed at home. You helped out. You fixed things. You figured things out on your own. If something broke, you repaired it. If something went wrong, you adapted. Panic wasn't an option. They didn't grow up believing help would arrive. The help was you. And this is the part most people overlook. The world they lived in forced them to develop resilience. They watched their parents work long hours without complaining. They saw neighbors help each other quietly without documenting it. They saw adults carry the weight of life without performing it. That environment shapes a child. It teaches you that life is serious but manageable, that problems are normal, that responsibility isn't punishment. It's part of being alive. People raised in the 70s learned reliability because they had no alternative. And that's why, even now, they often feel older than their age, not physically, mentally. Their maturity didn't come from books or theories. It came from watching real life unfold up close, without filters, without distractions. There's something almost poetic about them. They were the bridge. One foot in an old world, slow, raw, and real. The other in a new world, fast, loud, and digital. They remember life without internet, without screens, without constant noise. And now they witness a generation overwhelmed by it. Maybe that's why conversations with people from that era feel different. They're grounded, present, not trying to impress, not competing in invisible races. Their confidence comes from lived experience, from early responsibility, from being tested before they even knew the word responsibility. They remind us of something simple. Strength doesn't come from being taught. It comes from being tested. Now look at the generation born after the 2000s. They grew up with phones in their hands before they could fully speak. Notifications, videos, messages, endless timelines. Their brains have been running at full speed since childhood. And the effects are everywhere. They get tired quickly, overwhelmed easily. Their attention slips in seconds because their minds absorb more information in one day than people in the 70s encountered in an entire week. Social media offers connection, but it also creates pressure. Comparison happens silently. They feel behind, even when they're doing fine. Their minds rarely rest because the phone never stops demanding attention. Even during downtime, they scroll, and scrolling isn't rest. This generation is intelligent, creative, open-minded, but also mentally exhausted, overstimulated, and emotionally drained in ways previous generations never experienced. They're growing up in a world that moves faster than the human brain was designed for, and they're trying to survive it one notification at a time. So here's my question to you. Which generation do you think had it harder, and why? And tell me, Were you born before 1980 or after? I'm curious to know which generation you belong to. If this made you see things differently, hit subscribe.